Welcome to Fall, Rise, Give, a space where we invite you to dig into the real cause of your suffering, looking at opportunities for growth with a change in your beliefs, thoughts, and actions so you can be your true self and be inspired. Join us as we explore life's ups and downs and navigate the twists and turns, sharing stories of resilience, hope, and the transformative power of giving back. Whether you're looking for a change, in recovery, or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your go-to for candid conversations, raw emotions, and a whole lot of heart. Tune in and discover how to fall, rise, and give back on life's extraordinary journey. Welcome to Fall, Rise, Give, turning struggles into opportunities by being your true self and help others. I'm Bartender Bob. That's Kumar. Did you have a good week, Kumar?
I did. I had a really good week, unlike the previous week. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I actually got to spend time. My oldest son came down, and we spent the night at the cabin, and he brought down steaks and chicken and potatoes and asparagus, and we ended up cooking it up on the Blackstone. And I'll tell you what, it felt like we were at a five-star diner or a five-star restaurant. When we're eating at the cabin.
That's awesome. No, it's simple pleasures in life. That's what I think. It's interesting. And I think, it's funny that you mentioned that. Pleasures of food and is one of the biggest pleasures that we need to enjoy ourselves with. And funny enough, the topic today is about pleasure, desire, money, and a little bit about sex, but only because the energy part of it's intertwined with the second chakra. I
was going to say, doesn't everything just kind of tie together anyway? Money, sex, desire, all of that pleasure, all of that stuff kind of combined together?
It does. And it's funny. We forget sometimes, we block that energy and we don't live life to the fullest. I've been very conscious of trying to live my life to the fullest the last couple of weeks. As we mentioned last week, I was going through some blockage and being afraid. And so as I utilize some of the tools that we talk about in the book and in the podcast, I started shifting my energy a little bit and started more focusing on what I wanted. I wanted to be able to live more joyous on a day-to-day basis, not just happiness perspective, but doing things that actually give me joy, give me pleasure, stuff like that.
So what did you end up doing?
I went bowling last night for a charity event, so that was a lot of fun. And so for me, that was a big deal. I just had a kind of a Zen moment. I had a lot of things that still went sideways work-wise. And I was in a meeting, and this woman said, "You seem really happy. Maybe you shouldn't be because we got some bad news coming down the pipe from the executives." And I said, "Look, I'm in a state of mind of Zen. Nothing can really get me down at the moment. I'm sure things will, and things often do. But I took pleasure in simple things. Went out to dinner a couple of times with my family, and didn't do anything exciting as a whole. As I mentioned, I was traveling last week to the islands around Seattle area, so are enjoying nature and hikes and things that give me pleasure are those kind of things: activities, food." Spending time with friends, and I was able to go to a fun event last night. And funny enough, my favorite football team is the Washington Huskies, and we won tickets in the raffle last night to a Husky game. So that was pretty cool.
So Let me ask you this about bowling, because I'm a terrible bowler. I've bowled. Monique and I have been together for 4 years. We've been bowling twice, and they're both part of a Christmas party that a friend of ours throws. And I get golf scores for bowling and bowling scores for golf. Figure that one out.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's funny. Last time I bowled was for that charity event last year. It's called Bowlerama. It's a charity for at the Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center here. They're trying to find the cure for melanoma, and so it's a fun activity. It's kind of fun. We're all terrible at it. The first game I came in second, less than 100 points. Second game I got like 118 or something, but. Right. Overall, we're all bad bowlers, but it's kind of a fun activity. Have a little bit of competition, a little bit of, you do get a strike or a sphere once in a while, and it kind of gives you that short-term joy or pleasure.
Well, I'll tell you what, when Monique and I end up in Seattle, you and Jill, Monique and I are going to go bowling because it sounds like we're all about the same, about the same quality of bowler right there.
Yeah, but there's a lot more to do around here than bowling. But we'll definitely take you guys out and enjoy the simple pleasures of life around here in the Northwest.
Well, let's kind of turn our attention then to that second chakra. It's sacral? Is the right way to pronounce it, or sacral?
Yeah, sacral chakra. Yep.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's our sacral chakra. It's in our sacral part of the body. It controls our sexual functions. It controls our anxiety or shame in some areas when we're blocked. It controls our money, power, and control. Really, what it controls is desire and creativity, wanting things better, wanting something. And so when we don't feel like we have hope, or when we don't want something, when we live kind of a numb life as I did, living day to day, that's when we get blocked. And so we started out with the grounding of the root chakra, just getting grounded and through acceptance and finding some courage. When you get to the courage piece, you want something more, right? You may not be attached to the outcome, or you may not get the outcome that you want, but you still want something. And that wanting something, that desire, the ability to create, oftentimes associated with money and sex. We all want pleasure in that way. And so we need to learn how to unblock that energy and really trying to spend time on figuring out things that we want, things that we desire at a deeper soulful level. So that's kind of what the chakra is all about. It can result in anxiety and anger and frustration when we're blocked from it. It's really around making sure that our physical bodies are interconnected. Um, these chakras, the first three are part of the physical chakras. The root chakra is in the base of the spine. The sacral chakra is in the sacral part of your body. Third one is around your stomach. And then we start to go into the spiritual and the heart chakras. But they're all intertwined. And what we talk about is energies. And these energies are physical, emotional, and spiritual. And as we go down this journey, it's kind of funny. I was in a workshop yesterday on Zoom through Hay House, the big publishing firm, and they had this thing on reinvent. And the keynote speaker at the end of the day was talking about how we're all interconnected spiritually in this ether and universe, and how we're manifesting our lives essentially through this universal energy of spirit, and then how we see things through our energy centers. And so she started to touch on the chakras a little bit. It's an ancient Hindu um, name, but it's really popular around Buddhism and a lot of other modern New Age stuff nowadays.
You know, you mentioned, I think in one of our first couple of podcasts, you mentioned that we're all interconnected somehow. And, you know, since we've been doing this podcast, I know it's stupid to say this or whatever, and it's going to sound hokey, but it's really not. Since we've started doing this podcast, I've had a different outlook on life. You know, I've been, I don't know, trying to see things more positively, and then really noticing that when I think about something and, you know, not really will it, but when I'm, you know, thinking that I want something to happen or want to do something, chances, a lot of times it works out. A lot of times that, you know, the things that I'm thinking about are usually something that falls into my lap or something that I end up having the opportunity to do, as long as I'm looking and seeing that, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you get it kind of handed to you, but if you don't see that it's there, then you don't take it. So a lot of it's just keeping your eyes open and your body open and your mind open, and just noticing that here's your gift, here's your opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. And I think that's, you do manifest, you do end up doing things, feeling things that you think about, and it's kind of in your consciousness level. You can influence that through meditation or what have you, through silence, and put creative visualizations out there and follow your intuition. And I think the biggest thing that you mentioned there to me is gift. We all have gifts. We all have gifts, things deep down inside that we want to do. For you, it's probably a gift that I notice is the gift of gab, gift of talking, gift of giving people entertainment through conversation, right? And it's the ability to bring people together. For me, I believe my biggest gift is enthusiasm, is getting people excited, getting people inspired. And so for me, it took me years to learn. And we've talked about it before, about a company I started. The company was called enthusiasm.com and ended up being called Enthusiasm Technologies. And so enthusiasm is a word that comes from a Latin word, enthos, God within. And so we get excited about things that we deeply connect to, things that we deeply aspire to do or be. And that comes into our desire. Deep down inside, I think we all have this desire for something. I think that's usually has to do with our gift. A lot of people are artists and creative types. A lot of people may be focused on business and creating business value, but usually want something beyond yourself, something that you think you can share with the world. That may be an invention for a business person or entrepreneur. I was listening to a woman yesterday. She created a makeup company. She was struggling with the different kind of makeups that are on the market, and she ended up creating a makeup company because she felt she needed to create this holistic makeup company that was for people like her, that weren't the models of the world, the average person that wanted to make themselves feel good. And so she talked a lot about being worthy and being worthy to accept. But I think we're not going to talk about being worthy at this particular moment. But what we're talking about is at this point, just thinking about our gifts. When we sit with ourselves in meditation or in our thought process, let's take a step back and saying, maybe through all my experiences, through all my struggles, through my suffering, what is the one thing or a couple of things that I believe are my talents, my gifts that I can share with the world? And usually we have a thread that weaves us through, and these things keep coming back. Maybe you wanted to be a musician that we talked about, or you wanted to be a motorcycle mechanic. You get pleasure from fixing motorcycles and getting out there in the country riding your bike, get some sense of freedom. So it's really in noticing in those moments, sitting back and saying, okay, pausing and reflecting and saying, okay, what do I really, really want? So that's kind of, I think, the gift scenario. I think gift, our talents, our desire for wanting something more. Again, that ties into we often want more money so we can do more things, but sometimes people who become really successful end up not being happy just because they've achieved something doesn't mean they satisfy their true gift or their true need.
I went through college a second time. I went to college right after we graduated in '87, and I got an associate's degree from Brown Institute, went on to be a radio personality for many years. And in 2017, my son went to college at Western Technical College in La Crosse, and there was a granted program. And so I decided I'm going to go back to school because I helped him with his homework his first semester. He loved it. I loved doing it myself, and so I went back to college, ended up getting on the, straight A's the entire time through college, the second time. But I was the oldest male in the class. There's a female that was about the same age as I am. But it's funny, I was working full time, going to school full time, and being a father full time, and the instructor was just a couple of years older than I am. And he goes, it's funny to watch Bob compared to the rest of you guys. He goes, because Bob's got a career, Bob's making money, Bob's doing, the things that he wants to be doing. Right now, I think Bob's going to school so he can learn how to get more time. And it's for me, that's true. You talked about money being the big thing for a lot of people. For some people, though, like myself, the gift of time is more the gift of anything more than money or anything, because I enjoy to do, as you and I have talked, I enjoy doing things that are time for myself rather than going out and making a dollar and helping, the guy I work for make money and have him have more time.
Exactly. And that comes to that pleasure principle, right? We all need to make a living, but we also need to find a way to give ourselves pleasure. And that pleasure comes in multiple ways. But I think, in a most general sense, time is money, as people say. There's a book that I started to read. A friend recommended it to me, and it's called Die with Zero. And he's basically saying that you've made enough money and you need to be able to spend your time living a fulfilling life. A lot of really wealthy people and a lot of people who they work to make more money, but they forget to smell the roses along the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And they forget to give themselves time to really enjoy and spend time in simple pleasure activities. So I think what you're really getting to is when you give yourself time, when you make time by um, doing less or wanting more of just for the sake of wanting, and take a step back and give yourself time to think through things, give yourself time to do things like, for you, it could be a motorcycle ride. For me, it could be a golf game later on today that I want to go out and play. That time gives us this sense of a connection with our true desires. saying, what are the daily activities? So we're not here to teach you how to make millions of dollars or have a super, fulfilling sexual life. That's not kind of our goal. Our goal is to have you live a life of less struggles by being your true self, and then hopefully help others. So, in this sense, living a life of contentment, wanting certain things, having a desire to live a daily life of what gives you pleasure, and giving you things that, not necessarily things, material things, but activities, a sense of fulfillment. Those kind of things will help us. But going into the chakras, what we talk about is our energies get stuck. Sometimes we're not grounded. When you're not grounded, you're not going to think about things that give you pleasure. You're just worried about living day to day in your work environment, and you're too frustrated and too fearful and too anxious. So getting beyond that point through the tools that we talked about, acceptance, now we're at this area. Okay, now let's talk about what is it that you want? You want more time to do the activities that give you pleasure, things that you desire. Maybe it's a trip to Europe. Maybe it's a trip to Asia. Maybe it's making time for painting or music. You don't necessarily have to make
Mhm.
money doing these things, but you can certainly give yourself time and pleasure through activities that give you joy.
You did mention the word frustration, and I know that a lot of people have frustration in their lives, their personal lives, their work lives, their monetary lives, and their lives in general. How do you deal with that frustration, or what do you do in order to ground yourself after you're at that point where you're up to here, and you need to be here to be level, but you're way up here with the frustration. How do you ground yourself after something like that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of frustration comes with not getting what you want, right? You don't have the time to do the pleasure activity. You don't have the time or maybe the money or the relationship in a physical environment, a romantic relationship, and you get frustrated because you are in this place. So the reason I get excited about, the reason I'm drawn to these chakras is they're interconnected, right? And so we're going to talk more about being grounded through a higher power in the crown chakra and the spiritual nature of intuition and feeling God and through the heart. Um, the next chakra is the power chakra. That's when we get really frustrated and when we don't get what we want. But getting back to the one that we just talked about last week, accepting, right? We dissected the serenity prayer, reminding folks that, hey, it's a Christian prayer, it's a great tool. It starts out with saying, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When we get frustrated, it's usually because of an outcome that we don't like. Somebody maybe have let you down in a relationship, a romantic relationship, or your boss said something, or the money isn't there to pay your bills. So accepting being grounded, that's the best way that I can teach someone how to let go of the frustration. But there's more to it. It doesn't mean just because you're accepting things doesn't mean that you don't want more. And I think to be truly inspired, to be truly living a fulfilling life, you have to want something. You can't just sit on your butt and just accept things all day long. You can, but I think we all want to do certain things, want to be certain things, want to be with certain special. And so with that requires desire and wanting. And once you want something, you have to think of this word hope that came in for me. Obama wrote that book, Audacity of Hope. A lot of people don't even have hope. I don't even want to go with the word hope yet. Hope is a very important word. But first, you got to want something. You got to want a better situation, a better life for yourself, a better day. Let's just start out with today. What can you do today with the time that you have? Don't be just numb and watch golf on the TV all day or a Netflix movie. Think about for a moment, go for a nature walk, go for something that gives you true pleasure. I find going for a walk, going out, being in nature is probably the simplest way for me to start to get centered besides meditation. And so, frustration, connected, desire, wanting something, I think we have to want something. And so that desire component, and we usually think it's money that we need to do some things. And certainly people do need money, but it's usually what do you need the money for? Are you going to be so
Mm.
stuck just trying to get the money, or are you trying to actually live a simple life? And you and I are not super rich. We have a simple lives. We go daily pleasures, and we tend to have contentment in our lives. That's why we're talking, because we have time to make for ourselves, to share our gifts with the world, have a conversation about reality of just being your true self. And that starts with simple daily activities.
So how does all this tie back into the sacral chakra?
Yeah. So it's, you start out with acceptance, the root, you get grounded, and then you have to want something. That wanting something, that desire for that pleasure is really the key. So to unblock that energy, I don't want you to think about, I can't get something, or I'm going to get frustrated because I can't get something. Don't think about those thoughts. Just focus on what you want. Focus on what you want for the day. Focus on what you want for the next couple of hours. Focus on things that give you pleasure. Focus on things that give you fulfillment. For me, I'm excited about today. After the podcast, I'm going to walk the dog. That gives me pleasure. I'm going to go to a workshop about new agey chakra thinking, spiritual stuff. There's a couple of great
Mm-hmm.
authors that are on that workshop. And then I'm going to go play golf because that gives me pleasure. Seeing the ball when I hit it. Again, I'm terrible at golf, but seeing the ball take flight through the air, that gives me a lot of pleasure. So I'm going to make time for myself. And so this ties into the second chakra. The easiest way to block something, you block your energy, is just wanting that desire, wanting that gift, thinking about that gift or that talent that you have. Let's just start
Mm-hmm.
with that. A better relationship. Maybe you want a better romantic relationship. Whatever that is, wanting, I think, is the key. Desiring something.
So you mentioned the golf thing. I was on Facebook the other day, and I was looking at a reel, and it was talking about the speed of things different, like baseball, they're throwing about 90 miles an hour. Do you know what the speed of a golf ball leaving the tee is
No, but I'd love
on
to
a
do. I'd be
drive?
fascinated by that. Yeah.
145 miles an hour.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
That shocked me when I saw that. I mean, that was a shocking thing to me.
And isn't it amazing? People love watching golf on TV, right? There's a PGA championship going on right now, and there was some drama earlier in the week with one of the top players. But to me, it blows my mind that there's a camera that can see the ball being hit, and the camera can track this tiny little inch and a half ball through the
Mm-hmm.
air, hundreds of yards, see the flight, and see it land all the way end to end. Somebody
Yeah.
wanted a technology to be able to capture and share with the world through a camera, through a process, and show us the pleasure of somebody hitting a ball, a professional hitting the ball. Started with the desire of wanting to be able to see where the ball lands. Somebody created that tool. Somebody invented
Right.
that. And so that camera, that process of actually sitting there, angling that camera, somebody sharing that gift of capturing the moment, somebody sharing the gift of hitting that ball, practicing for hours and hours, wanting something great, gives us all entertainment. Give millions of people across the world entertainment of watching this ball go 145 miles an hour through the air. That's amazing. That's what desire can do. But let's just start with wanting something, desiring something. Don't just want money just so it can get you stuff, but it can get you stuff in moments. Want it, know why you want something. What is the true pleasure, the long-term value that you can get out of a better money relationship, a better sexual romantic relationship, a better physical relationship with yourself? It's the why that's going to take you through the third chakra, which is the power chakra. But yeah, to me, it starts with wanting something.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall Rise Give, where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also, consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall Rise Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.